So this lecture has 4 recent games that were played in the last month, so I'm sure you're familiar with them. And one of my favorite endings to a game from a few years ago, and then an even better ending from even years further past. Now this is the game between St. Louis resident Georg Meier, who's played at our club many times, versus Vladimir Kramnik, who's better than Meyer. That's the way life goes. And in this position, it's black to move. And you will notice that white is threatening an interference tactic. Okay, although you may not notice because you haven't met the rating requirement for the class. But if you did, you would notice white is threatening knight f6 check, and the queen is no longer defending f7. And then white would play queen f7 and probably win. Well, maybe draw, but probably win. And unlike most people, Kramnik sees stuff and then does something about it. Okay, and Kramnik played knight to d5, which defends f6, but doesn't really stop the threat of knight f6, and then queen takes f7. So Meyer played knight f6. And if you play knight takes knight, I will play queen takes f7. If you play pawn takes knight, I will play queen takes f7. If you play king h8, I will probably play queen takes f7. I might play knight takes knight. I have to think about that. So black played the only move I didn't mention. Queen takes f6, which was the idea of knight to d5. Now, the idea is not to sacrifice your queen for 2 or 3 pieces. The idea is to checkmate white, because checkmate's good. You can't take the queen because knight f4 check would be checkmate, as Ken West will explain. Yeah, he says, yeah. After knight f4 check, white's king goes to the first rank, and black plays rook b1 with mate. Now, Meyer didn't want to get mated, so he didn't play pawn takes queen. But that was a very nice defense from Kramnik. Now, if white plays bishop takes knight, black will play queen takes g5 check, and then black is up 2 pawns and is threatening mate on b1, and the bishop is hanging. So Meyer didn't do that. So if Meyer didn't play bishop takes knight, and Meyer didn't play pawn takes queen, which allows mate, what did he do? He played queen takes knight. Okay, and now it looks like the game should be a draw, because if white plays pawn takes queen, if black plays pawn takes queen, white plays pawn takes queen, it's opposite color bishops, and the bishop on f3 is threatening d5, and white's rook is on the 7th, and that makes up for his pawn minus. And now Kramnik made the only winning move. And actually, when I first looked at the game, I thought queen f4 was winning, because queen f4 threatens everything. It threatens the rook on c7, and it threatens the queen on d5. And if the queen on d5 moves, let's say to d7, then the g5 pawn is hanging with check. However, after queen f4, black is not winning. Who can figure out why? Queen to f4, what's the only move for white? Queen f4. White only has one move that draws. And actually the theme of the lecture, this lecture, is to find the only moves. Because in most chess positions, many moves will do, like in the starting position. Even though one of my chess camp students thinks knight f3 is the worst move, it's still good on move 1. e4 is still good, d4 is still good, etc., etc. So in most positions, many moves are okay. But in a lot of positions, only one move will suffice. Some say the world runs in fire, some would say ice. And ice is nice and will suffice. Right, Ken West?
Sure.
See? Yeah. That's correct. After queen f4, white plays rook to c4, attacking the queen, and the computer says black only has a slight advantage. Kramnik found a much better move, which wins the game. Very nice move. And he saved his queen, but kept pressure on the g5 pawn. Yes? Somebody was going to say something? Queen a1. Very suspicious. Well, that moves the queen, but that doesn't put any pressure on white. White could just move his queen. See, now this pawn is weak because it can't be defended by other pawns. It's barely defended now. And if you take it, it's check. So you want to keep in the vicinity of that pawn. Queen to g6. Now, white has a problem. Pawn takes queen is a winning threat. And if the queen moves away from the g5 pawn, then queen takes g5 check will win. So white has to move his queen and keep it on the g5 pawn. The problem is black will then play rook to b5 and scoop it up. And then black will be winning. And that's what happened. Rook to b5. And he threw in this move. And the reason is he's trying to get white to either mate himself or hang his queen. But he didn't do that. And in this position, white resigned since white's down 2 pawns for nothing. However, an interesting variation, if he didn't resign, would have been queen takes a6. Now he's not down 2 pawns. See? And if he could have safely played queen takes a6, he would not have resigned. But since he could not, he resigned. So who sees the win here for white, for black? If you see the win for white, let me know, because I don't see it. If you see the win for black, I do see that one. Black to play and win. Where are my 1800 players? Very good. There's my 1800 player. Queen f5. King g2 is forced. I'm sure you expected that.
H3.
H3. Now, if the king goes to the back rank, queen b1 check is good for black. So king goes to g3. And now, no sacrificing. This isn't the advanced class. This is the advanced class. Queen g5 and mate. Yeah, there you go. Now, since white can't do this, he would just be 2 pawns down with a bad position, so he gave up. And as an advanced class, you could understand that. Okay. I need to tease them more. I don't tease you guys enough. Okay. The next game is between your 2 favorite players, Etienne Bacrot and Richard Rapport. Now, Etienne Bacrot is a famous prodigy from what country? Yes?
France.
France. And when he was 13, he played a match with Smyslov, I believe, and I think he won. Smyslov was not 13. Bacrot promised a lot, but in recent years, his rating has been the same. So he's been 2,700 FIDE for 10 years. Not 2,750, not 2,780, just 2,700. Terrible. So he's been one of the top 3 players in France for 10 years, but he's not top 10 in the world. He's not top 20 in the world. He just sort of hangs around, top 3 or 4 in France. Now, Richard Rapport, 17 years old, 2,700, that's pretty good. Okay? He's the same age or younger than Ray Robson and 60 points higher rated. So he's pretty good. And he's playing in his first Super GM tournament, and he didn't win any games. Aw. So that was unfortunate. Okay, now we have this boring position. Wait a minute, this is the most exciting position ever. Okay, this was played last week in the Biel tournament. Biel being in your favorite country, Switzerland. Also, it's Biel BN. One's French and one's German, I assume. Must be German. I was in Biel in 1993 before you were born. I was talking to Julian. And that was a nice tournament. Now, in this position, Bacrot played knight takes b6. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice that white has 4 passed pawns. That's a lot. Okay? And white has 2 rooks for 3 pieces, assuming we recapture. Now, 2 rooks for 3 pieces is about the same. Some would say 3 pieces are better. Some would say 2 rooks are better. But what is better is 4 passed pawns. Now, that's better. Okay? So black has to be careful because 4 passed pawns, that's serious. Now, in this position, black has 1 move that draws, but he didn't find it. So he lost. Aw. Now, in many games, including your own, usually it's not that one side plays well and one side plays badly and the side that plays well wins. Usually you both play badly. You guys know what I'm talking about. And then one of you decides to make the worst move in all time and minus 100. Okay? At the top level, it's very similar. Top level, they both play okay, not bad. And then one guy makes the worst move ever and loses. And that's what happened here. This position, it should be a draw if black plays the only good move. He didn't do that, then he was completely losing. I hate when that happens. Okay, so what is the only move that draws? Now to understand the position, you have to remember white has 4 passed pawns. So if both sides play normally, then white's going to have 4 passed pawns. So then black will lose. So black has to play abnormally. Now, what is the one problem with white in this position? What looks a little out of sorts? What's that? King is exposed and he hasn't castled. That's correct. If his king wasn't exposed and he had castled, this would be a very easy win. Because as I said earlier, unless I forgot to say it, 4 passed pawns. Yes? Queen F5 is close. The reason Queen F5 doesn't work is quite humorous. Okay? Orthopedic surgeon told me that joke. One person laughed. What's that? Why? Well, wait, we're not done with his Queen F5 yet. Okay, if Queen F5, white makes his king safe by castling queenside. Okay, and then his king is safe. And in fact, castling queenside is the only winning move. Queen F5 is close, been suggested before. Queen takes D4 is not for this class, so Dmitry has to leave. That's for the beginner class tomorrow, which I'm also teaching. If queen takes D4, rook to D1. Yeah, then beginner class. Then you lose your queen, and then I have 3 passed pawns. It's not clear what's better, 4 passed pawns or an extra queen and 3 passed pawns. Queen G4 is the only drawing move. Now don't feel bad, the guy also didn't find it. Queen G4, threatening Queen G3 check and perpetual check. And it's funny, every possible normal move here for white is all zeros. Every move is a draw. Because black's going to be down 100 pieces, but he's going to perpetual check. Anyway, black blundered by playing A takes B6. Now white has 2 winning moves, and they have the same idea. But the one he played is much more beautiful. Now in this position, black would like to play bishop takes rook, which you guys see. Very good, congratulations. And black has an even better move, which you don't see. If it was black to play, what's the best move for black? The best. Highly recommended. Что? Bishop D5, trapping the queen on G8. I hate when that happens. In my opinion, although I didn't ask him, black simply did not see white's next move. Black probably thought, I'm threatening the rook, I'm threatening queen to G4 like I was last move, and I'm threatening bishop to D5. So I'll just take back on B6 and I have a good game. But white's completely winning. And this is a line clearance. And Dmitry helped us out, thank you. When black played queen takes D4 in Dmitry's analysis, white played rook D1, winning the game. The reason white was winning is his D pawn wasn't on D4. There was no D pawn. If white had no D pawn here, rook D1 is quite interesting. Therefore, white played D5. I don't think black saw that. That's my opinion. And now it's over. Computer says plus a billion. And the reason it's over, well, obviously queen takes loses to rook D1, which we just discussed. If you don't take it, which he did not, then you're in 4 passed pawns. Remember that? Okay. So if you do take it, bishop takes D5. That's the only possible refutation.
What about queen G4?
I think he played queen G4, so we'll get to that. And why did white do this? What was he thinking? Julian, the only one who could possibly know. He's like, I resign. Queen takes D5, rook to D1, and I hate to say it, but 3 passed pawns. Okay, and then you take, and I take, and white's winning because white has 3 passed pawns. Also, the bishop on G7 is not very good. Okay, and that's the best black can do, but no grandmaster would have black there because 3 passed pawns. Okay, and I think he just didn't see D5. By the way, if you're a computer, then E6 also wins here. That's much more complicated. Okay, but D5. Now, because you asked, and Rapport knew you would ask, he played queen G4. Now, queen G4 in the previous position, before D5, the queen and bishop were working out, so black could play queen f3 as well as queen g3. But now you can't play queen f3, so king f2. And that's the end of your counterplay. Aw. And then he didn't resign, he just kept playing until like white had 4 queens. So the rest of the game was sort of silly from a super GM perspective. He played for check. That's pretty good, he checked him. Okay, and then he played bishop c8. Yeah, and I mean, they're playing chess, but 4 passed pawns. Yeah. What kind of chess is this? Yeah. Now, if you take it, then rook f4 and so forth. So, yeah, 4 passed pawns. Yeah. Right, and now he resigned, but it's cute actually. If king a7, white has a very nice forced checkmate, which will impress you because most of you haven't met the rating requirement for this class. So you'll be very impressed. Julian will not be impressed. He'll be like, oh, ridiculous.
Queen a8 check.
Queen a8 check, very good. King takes. Most of my students can't play that because they don't see king takes, they say mate. And black says, yeah, you're right. And then you queen without taking the knight. And then you play rook e7, and now most of you see what's going on. Yeah, then you play queen a8 again. Yeah. Second time works out even better. Yeah. So Rapport resigned after queen d5 check, because 4 passed pawn. Yeah. Okay, so that didn't work out well for black, basically because of one bad move. If he had played queen g4, I wouldn't have shown you this game. But he played take, so I could show you. And then all the stuff that he missed. And that's why you've never heard of him. See, if he had played other moves, you would have said, oh, that guy, I know him. Okay, now you guys think Ray Robson is good because, you live in St. Louis. What do you know? And this is very common in my life, is people think what they know is good. And in chess, you think Ray Robson's good because that's the best you've seen. And unfortunately, Ray Robson and the US team were in China 2 weeks ago. And because the USCF is we're being taped here. The USCF are wonderful. It was a match, the US versus China, and when they asked the USCF how much money they had for the match, that was their answer. Okay, so the match was sponsored for the US team by the Marshall Chess Club. Very suspicious. Okay, so did Nakamura play? No. Did Kamsky play? No. Did Irina Krush play? No. Did Anna Zatonsky play? No. So we sent our next best players. Ugh. And the final score, they scored over 100 points, and we scored slightly less than 50. I'm not kidding. That was the final score. They won by over 50 points. Now, Ray Robson was board 2, I believe, unless he was board 1. He might have been board 1. Yeah, Onishuk didn't play, and Garayev didn't play either. It might have been board 1. Anyway, it was a Scheveningen style. Where's, what's his name, the other Ben? Conover. Yeah, where's he?
Can you say it?
Yeah, he's Dutch. Yeah. It's a Dutch resort. It's pronounced Scheveningen, because I was there and they told me. But you say Scheveningen. Now, Scheveningen is not only an opening, but it's a style of play. It's your team against their team. But instead of board 1 playing board 1, and board 2 playing board 2, you actually play everybody. Everybody in every team plays everybody from the other team. That's the Scheveningen system. So Ray Robson played all the Chinese, and they played twice. They played like in 15 minutes and in 2 hours and all that nonsense. And if you thought the men got crushed, you see how the women did. Because without Zatonsky and Krush, we got crushed. Okay, with a C. Now this is the game. Ray Robson is black, and the Chinese player you've never heard of is white. And they have the same rating. And this position is a draw, assuming both sides play correctly. Now, Ray Robson has one very big weakness. And if you want to beat Ray Robson, this is your best hope. Okay, and that is to get him into time trouble and hope that he makes an error in time trouble like all of us do. And he gets into time trouble every single game, so that makes it easier. Okay, and of course he's in time trouble. And he plays, after e4, the terrible move h5, one of the worst moves on the board. And if black plays e6, it's a draw, because after e6, nobody can do anything. Black plays e6, then doesn't do anything, can play king f8 to f7. Nobody can move. If the king moves towards the rook, you're giving all your pawns away. If the rook moves, black pushes his pawn. So basically after e6, they just move around doing nothing and it's a draw. And computer agrees, saying it's all zeros. But Ray Robson played h5, horrible move. Now, if your opponent wants to play e6 and then equalizes, you should probably stop that. So he played e6. Now, there are 5 legal moves on the board, right, Ken West? And Ray Robson played the 5th best. Not good. By far the 5th best. Very good. When I want a bad move, I know who to call on. When he heard it was the worst legal move, he sat up. King f6, the worst legal move. Rook to g3. I hate when that happens. Threatening rook g6 mate. So he went from a completely equal position to resigning in 2 moves. That's the best America had. No. Okay, well, that's what happens when you get into time trouble. And that's why you should avoid getting into, no time at all on your clock. Yeah, so yeah, e6 would be a draw, but he played h5. Notice how black checkmated himself. Rook g6 wouldn't be made if that pawn was on h7. He had to work hard. It's like h5, then king f6. Okay, I figured it out. If only he was here in the audience. I would tease him more. Okay, but he's not here. And he resigned. Okay, terrible. Now, unfortunately, my next game is a Ray Robson game, which he also lost. And he was playing the best and or second best player in China, which is Wang Yue. You could have also said Wang Hao. Those are the 2 best players. 2 years ago, it was clearly Wang Yue. Now I don't know, probably Wang Hao, probably. And Wang Yue scored some insane score, like 9 out of 10 against the American players. He's like, no Nakamura and Kamsky, oh boy. He was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They're going to play every year this match. The next one's going to be in New York next year, so hopefully we can get the top US player. Okay, in this position, white played bishop takes e3. This position has an equal amount of material. Ray Robson's black. And black's next move is totally insane. So I assume he was in time trouble. I hope. Now, black has only one problem. Black has a great pawn structure, pieces good, open files, square, but the bishop on h5 is a little iffy. If white plays g4, you might lose a bishop. It's happened. So I showed this to one of my students who was rated like -1,000,000, and he said, oh, I'd play g5 here so my bishop can get back. That's not bad. Computer says knight c6 is a good move, and some other move was okay, rook somewhere, double rook, something. Ray Robson played a very suspicious move, and there's a reason why it's suspicious. So if he played the move, he should say to himself, if this move is bad, this is why. Then he could refute that analysis and conclude the move is fine. However, the reason the move is bad is a good reason. And it just wins, and I don't know what he was thinking. I don't get it. He played rook takes c4, losing immediately. Now, when he played rook takes c4, since he's Ray Robson, better than me, he would assume that that's very dangerous. So he would probably look at queen b3, which is what was played. Now the thing is, white's going to play bishop f1 and rook to c1, and that rook's pinned. So Ray Robson defended his rook and unpinned it sort of with queen a4. Now I'm threatening to take the queen and the rook's not pinned, and black's a pawn up. So I assume when Ray played rook takes c4, this was his intention, and he did it. So what's wrong with his position? What's the winning move for white? Excuse me, who? g4. And then you lose your bishop. Well, that would lose your g-pawn, because there's a rook defending it. Now there's not a rook defending it. Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, I'll see him at some point. We'll play tennis, I don't know. And I'll say, why did you do that? Because I don't know why he did that. Because white made the most obvious move, then the most obvious move. Then he has to resign. So I don't know. Like, it wasn't like white made this sneaky move, aha. He like attacked the bishop that's trapped and he pinned the rook. So rook takes c4 is very dangerous because it's on the same diagonal as the king. So you got to be careful when you make moves like that. usually, if rook takes c4 was a good move, that's a computer move, because the computer sees that g4 doesn't work. A human is really afraid of g4 and queen b3 because you're getting pinned and attacked. So Ray Robson gave all his pieces away, and then he didn't have any pieces. It's too bad. Okay, and he resigned because he's down a piece. Aw. So I'm going to ask him like why he did that. Okay, and again, it wasn't like Wang Yue played 100 good moves in a row and Robson played 100 bad moves. They just had an equal position, and Ray Robson played an insane move and resigned, which is what he did the previous game. And I see that a lot. The games end in one move. The game's about equal, and then all of a sudden it's like that. And I have games like that also where I'm on the losing side, usually against Shabalov. He's my, whatever the word is. Well, you were a writer. Yeah, there you go. I was thinking doppelganger, but I'm his doppelganger. I don't know. But anyway, I was thinking of a good word, not, still. But anyway, I've played Shabalov for 25 years, and I have no wins. I have some draws. And when I do lose, usually it's equal, and I make like -50 move and resign. I lose just like this. And if you got Chess Life this month, anybody got it yet? I got mine yesterday. Yeah? My game with Shabalov for the U.S. Championship is there where I make the -27 move. It's good. I didn't lose in 6 hours. I lost in 2 hours. I didn't have to suffer. Okay? And Shabalov in 3 days is playing in the World Cup because he won that game. If he had drawn or lost, then I'd be there losing in the first round. Now he gets to lose in the first round. Okay. There's 7 Americans playing in the World Cup, which starts in 3 or 4 days in Norway. 128 player knockout. How many of the, I mean there's 8. Conrad Holt's playing, Shabalov, Kaidanov, Robson. Shaking my head means they're going to lose in the first round. However, we have 3 players who might win. Nakamura is a big favorite, Kamsky is a big favorite, and Onishuk is a small favorite. The other ones, they fly to Siberia and then fly home. It is in Siberia, not kidding. So, Khanty-Mansiysk, your favorite place? No? The guys who speak Russian are like, what? What does that mean? Khanty-Mansiysk. But anyway, they have a lot of chess there for some reason. People like when it's cold, I don't know. Yeah, okay. So now we'll skip over Ray Robson a little bit because we can't stand all this losing. And we'll look at one of my favorite games. Now, many of you have a favorite player named Alexandra Kosteniuk, as Ken West probably is nodding in his head, if not in real life. And if you go to the 3rd floor, you'll see her picture near mine. And I must admit, she's one of my favorite players because I like playing her because I take all her pieces and mate her, so I like that. Okay, but Kosteniuk is one of the top female players in Russia. And where does she live?
Miami.
In Miami, in Florida. It's one of the top Russian players. And she just played in the European Women's Championship and did quite well. I think she tied for 3rd or 4th. Pretty good. There were many, many Grandmasters, and I am, so not a bad score. And this is a game she played a long time ago. How long ago? Thanks for asking. It was so long ago that she was playing Sergey Karjakin, and they had the same rating. Now that's a long time ago, because Karyakin's rating now is 29 million, and hers is the same. So her rating is 2450, which is what it is now, and he's 2540, but he's 2780 now. So, okay, well, he's still higher rated. Now, this isn't luck. This isn't like, oh, it's a good thing Karjakin had that move. That's not what this is. This is he saw a million moves ahead, and she didn't see 1 move ahead. And you'll see less than that. Okay, I've never been so mad at all of you. And you at home even madder. So in this position, Kosteniuk made an error, and then she continued to do so, as was the style at the time. And this is a typical error for a weak player. Okay, you can tell her I said that. Okay, weak players, they don't like when there's tension. They got to get rid of all that. They don't want to calculate 100. They're just like, okay, we'll just take everything and see what happens. So that's what she did. She needs to chill out and like make a good move. Make like a solid move, improve her position. But no, she played bishop takes d5. Now, Karjakin knew that 10 years later, I would give a lecture on this position, and he wanted to impress you guys. And he played a move so amazing that it's almost as amazing as the last move of the game, although it's not. We see the last move of the game, you'll be frozen in your chairs forever, never to leave. And then the kids will be like, who are these people on Sunday? And the move is, drum roll, queen takes a6, just what Ken West would have played. Now, when you play queen takes a6, it's important to see the final position. It is. If you don't, then queen takes a6 is a blunder. But of course, he saw a million moves ahead. That's why his rating went up several hundred points after this. Okay. Now, the best move for black, once again, is a safe, solid, improving move, one that you would not consider. That's why you're in this class. The best move is rook on c to b8. That's the best. And after that move, white has a big advantage, possibly not winning, but maybe. But it's like 0.7, so it's on the cusp. Okay, instead, Kosteniuk thought she had him. Ha-ha, he fell for my trick. And she played the winning continuation, but not winning for her. Okay, she played rook takes c1, check, and she figured that he would take, and she was right. And she figured she would take, and she did. And she figured he would play. This is the easy one, rook c8 check. Now, most of you are analyzing queen f8, bishop takes d5 check, and white wins. So she played queen e8. Okay, and this was her plan when she played rook c1. Now, if I can digress, when you calculate variations where the variations are takes, 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 you have to be right 100% of the time, not usually. Because usually means you're going to play like Steinitz and make 2 blunders a game, and you'll make 5 good moves. And 2 blunders means you're down 7, so that's not good. Okay? And when Kosteniuk calculated this, he obviously missed the last move. Obviously. Now here, my computer says bishop takes d5 check is equal. Then king f8, rook takes queen, king takes, and my computer goes on and on. You're totally baffled, because I can see your bafflement. But bishop takes d5 check is equal because my computer says so. Anyway, she probably analyzed bishop takes d5 check, and maybe she correctly concluded it was equal. Maybe not, I don't know. But Karjakin played rook takes e8, which is the correct move, which I'm sure Kosteniuk saw, and I'm sure Karjakin saw. And she played, so, very good. And now, black is drawing or better, except that white has one move that makes black resign. And that's the move she didn't see. And that's the move Karjakin saw when he played queen takes pawn, surprising all of you. Now he's going to surprise you more. Rook to a8. I hate when that happens. Although unless I'm white, then I really like it. Yeah. And that's the difference. And we see games like this that Morphy played. If you were here for the intermediate lecture, which some of you were, this is typical Morphy stuff. He sees stuff and his opponent didn't, so he wins. And usually, if I'm showing you a Karjakin game, he's playing Kramnik, and it's a draw. Okay, but now I'm showing you where he's playing a lesser GM who's not top 10 in the world, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't see that. Darn, I give up. And now you have to give up. I hate when that happens. I'm not even sure what that tactic is called. Like trash talking tactic? I don't know. Rook a8. Oh, okay. Man, I wish I could play rook a8. I never played moves like that. And obviously, he saw rook a8 when he played queen takes a6. Otherwise, you can't do this. It's good. Plenty. This many. So here, when he took, he saw take, 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 check, here, 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 here. Like for sure he saw it, 1,000%. And when he played this game, he was 25-40. He wasn't 27-70. So I hate to play 25-40s who see that, because I play 20, they don't see anything. I take everything. Okay, but yeah, unfortunately. And so his rating went way, way, way up, and hers didn't. So yeah, if you want to get good at chess, you study tactics like that for 10 hours a day, then you play it once in a while, then you're like, hey, that guy's good. Okay, so even this kind of tactic he may have seen before, maybe. Okay, my last game is between Bronstein and Korchnoi. Now this game I did not know, and my son told me about it, and then I went to the internets today, and I looked up Bronstein, because I was like, Bronstein's no good. And he's like, Bronstein's the greatest player ever. So we looked it up. And they have one game in his Wikipedia article, and it's this one. So, and he didn't know that, my son, so that's sort of funny. So I've run into this game a lot lately. Okay, and this game was played before everybody was born, including the players. And this was played in 1962 in a match between Leningrad and Moscow. And Julian's like, excuse me, what's Leningrad? Nice. Okay, so Korchnoi, one of the world's leading players, played a horrible blunder here because it was 1962. What do you want? Yeah. Okay, and they didn't do 4,000 tactical problems a day then. I'll tell you that. And he played the obvious move that you all want to play with black. Very obvious. Rook where? Who? What's the obvious tactical move that Korchnoi played? Queen f3. Right. And the best move would have been king to g6, but who's going to find that? And now white's to play and win. This is why Bronstein was almost the world champion and you were not. You were almost not able to get into the lecture. That's the difference. White's to play and win. Very nice tactic. And again, it meets with our theme of the lecture, the only move. It's not like Korchnoi played bad every move and Bronstein played well every move. Korchnoi made one bad move, and Bronstein found the only way to stop it. In my opinion, which you could disagree with, but I'm right, even before queen f3, Bronstein saw that queen f3 was a losing move. He had it all figured out. And yet, Korchnoi played anyway. Time trouble? Didn't see it? I don't know. Yeah, and I got to tell you a funny story. Was it Spassky? I think it was Spassky. Spassky was asked, why isn't Korchnoi the world champion? He's close a few times. And Spassky said, Korchnoi is a great openings player. He has a great imagination. He understands endgames better than anybody I've ever met. He plays the French defense and the open Rui with black better than anyone. He tries harder than anyone I've ever seen play chess. He studies all the time, and he does everything. And they're like, well, then why was he world champion? Because he has no talent. So queen takes f3. Rook h8 check was played. Korchnoi played. It's too hard for this class. King g6. And now white played the only winning move, winning the black queen. Queen where? Queen e8. Queen e1. That's illegal and hangs mate in 1. Oh man, today in chess camp, 2 kids were playing. One of them was okay, the other one was not okay. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, I'm trying not to look, because, and the kid says, what did he say? He said, you can't take your own piece and you're in check. That was what he said to his opponent, and he was right. The kid took his own piece, and he was in check anyway, so it was illegal for more than one reason. But when he said that, I was like, wait, I got to see this. You can't take your own piece and you're in check. All right, what's the move? Anyone? Bueller? Aren't you guys as good as Bronstein? I've beaten Bronstein, come on. It's true too, I have. We won't talk about the games he beat me. Shh. The answer isn't queen e8 question mark, am I right? The answer is the right answer with variations to back it up. Queen d6, rook takes queen. Solid. That's the over 1800 class for you. I can't believe Bronstein's better than you guys. He's not even alive. Bronstein's greatest contribution to chess, in my opinion, which nobody agrees with, is he dreamed of a great game. He had a dream, he woke up, and he showed the game, and it was like white sacked all his pieces of the king's gambit and won. It was like great, he made it up, but he dreamed it. It was a really good game, too. That was his greatest chess contribution. Also, he's almost the world champion, but yeah. Anyone? Who? Queen b6 with no idea. So queen f6, then draw agreed. Maybe black's better. Yeah, black's better. Yeah, black's better. Maybe black would win. B2 pawns hanging, white's king is open, queen h4 mate. The correct answer is the obvious rook takes h6. And black resigned, of course. Of course. Okay, so there's two obvious moves. Pawn takes rook and king takes rook. Okay? If king takes rook, then we check. The king goes to the g file, and we check. And if the king goes to f4, we play queen f5 and queen takes queen. If the king goes to f6, we play g5 check and queen takes queen. So that doesn't work. And the other move is pawn takes rook, and then we play queen g8 check, queen f8 check, and queen takes rook, queen. So rook takes resigns. I hate when that happens. Well, actually, when I'm white, I like it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Terrible. Now, of course, a computer would play rook h6 without, like, just easy rook. In fact, I put this on Houdini after queen f3 at like in a trillionth of a second. It's like rook h8, rook h6 plus 8. Like, it's nothing. But for humans, that's tough. And that's why certain people, Hikaru Nakamura, are pretty good. Because, man, would he solve that fast. That's his specialty. He'd be playing rook h8, rook h6 so quick. He'd walk in the door now, and he would be like, oh, rook h8, rook h6, and walk out.